is Professor Warren Smith. Professor Warren Smith is a college professor who became famous over a video that went viral where a student had a question about J.K. Rowling's so-called transphobic views. And Warren Smith actually went out of his way. It's like a 6-minute video, 5-6 minutes, and it's cut down, where Professor Smith actually walks the student through a thinking process where the student asks themselves questions about this so-called stated fact about J.K. Rowling. And you see the layers kind of come off in a very measured, calm way. I have to give Warren credit just for his very calm demeanor, something I'm still working on as an adult here. But he has this very calm demeanor where he walks the student through this, and you've all probably seen this video. It surfaced on social media, the subject of a lot of news stories. Well, come to find out, Warren is following me on social media.
Oh, hey now.
And not just that, Warren, I'm going to share this. If you could share screen with the tab that is there, Alan. If you could share that screen. We're going to watch this video. It's short. Is it being shared? Great. Okay, I need to zoom in on that.
What are you not seeing?
Oh, no. Sorry, I just saw it.
Okay.
It's all good. Warren says, when a teacher challenges me to debate the Oscars new diversity requirements. Now, if you scroll down, he says, this one is for you, that Chris Gore. You are an inspiration.
Oh.
So I was really tickled. I was tickled by that. I was almost tickled into.
Hey, pause it.
Okay.
Are you going to play it or?
I'm going to play it. It's 2 minutes. There's a longer version of this on his YouTube channel, which I'll put the link in the description there, but we're not, I'm trying to get Warren on the show. I want to get Warren here so you can talk to him, but let's take a look at this 2-minute clip from a video that he says was inspired by me. So I'm kind of a little taken aback by all of that, but Alan, you know when to mute me.
Yes.
Let's take a look at this clip from that. Okay, here we go.
Would you agree that Hollywood had a problem with representing minorities in the past?
Yeah, because racism was a real issue for a long time.
Casting those minorities that before didn't even have the opportunity to be a part of that world.
Opportunity is the key word, what you just said, providing the opportunity versus equal outcome. Because
based on,
if people are left to their own devices, you will never be able to achieve a specific predetermined outcome because people are left to their own devices. Therefore, you have to come at it from the other angle. You have to take the end result and impose the end result upon the process, and then artificially creating that result.
So what, when you say predetermining the result, what is the result?
A film crew needs to have X amount of a certain race on the set, not just in the cast, but also the crew. Now you're taking the end result and forcing that upon the process itself, not just presenting the opportunity for those people to engage in the movie, but saying, this is the result we want, go make it happen, or you will not qualify for an Oscar. That would be an example.
Is that a prerequisite of winning an Oscar? Because I'm having it hard to believe, but
I find that hard to believe that the Oscars would say that you need a certain amount of a certain racial makeup in order to qualify for an Oscar. You would find that hard to believe.
I would find it hard to believe that that is somewhere in writing, like an actual prerequisite of winning.
Yeah, I would find that hard to believe as well.
Okay, so just a sec, Alan. Stay on me here. Stay on this. This is Warren's channel. He describes himself also as an independent filmmaker. So his channel is called Secret Scholar Society. And his website is wsmithmedia.com. And there you go. I'm going to try to get him as a guest on the show. Subscribe to his channel. The links will be in the description. But what do we think about what Warren just said, Alan?
Well, first of all, he follows me too. So there you go. What was the part that stuck out to me? It was it kind of goes to what we were talking about with the D files, this idea of forcing diversity. And that what Disney found out was that when they tried to force diversity, they still couldn't fill the numbers. And so they had to go outside and start filling seats basically with people who looked like the characteristics they were going for, and could not bring in the right talent to be able to do that. And then the unintended consequences of that was that, the people they brought in were too arrogant enough to want to get help, to want to improve their art, to improve their animation. They didn't want to hear from the old white guys. And it's kind of like Star Trek. There's that utopian world that we think in the future will ultimately happen, but it's got to happen naturally. It can't be forced in any way.
That's I think the big point he's making is like, this is fine. Just don't make it like a requirement. Don't make it a necessary requirement. So look, I appreciate it's nice to see someone in the space of academia actually challenge these things. I think we've seen so little pushback against these rules. So my understanding is he's in Boston, but we are going to put our best efforts into getting Warren as a guest on an upcoming episode of the show to talk about his filmmaking and talking about pushing back against some of the bad ideas that are in academia that are now I think the big problem I have is these bad ideas from academia are now manifesting themselves in the real world in ways that are impacting all of us in every workspace and in creative fields where I don't think you can dictate rules on art. Let's go to your comments and questions here. Got a lot of great comments. We'll go through these. And we have our special guest, David Desmulchin, joining us in 10 minutes. So get your questions ready for David. Here to plug his new horror film. Patrick Lemire, always love to see you. I love that film threat is becoming an actual threat. Womp Biscuits points out that these new Oscar rules only apply to the Best Picture category.
Yes,
which tells me this. Go back the last several years. Go back 10 years. Go back 5 years. Many of the films that are nominated for Oscars would not be nominated based on these new rules.
No. Well, how is Oppenheimer qualified? I've asked this question before, but I don't believe Oppenheimer has the right quotients to be nominated. And to me, what it feels like, one of two things is happening. A is because Oppenheimer is the certain winner that the Academy basically had to bypass the rule for this movie, which tells you how the value of this rule it has no value whatsoever. And two, they're lying to us. The Academy is trying to set themselves up as the pinnacle of diversity when in fact they are violating it, and that they're pulling one over on us.
Well, what I've started to read Vivek Ramaswamy's book Woke Inc. And part of the premise of the book, just because I've enjoyed him on some podcasts. I think he's a free speech guy. I like some of what he has to say. But I started to read his book, and the big premise of the book is that corporate America uses wokeness as a deflection tactic at evil things that they do, so that they can't be questioned as to their virtuousness. And that's what I think that a lot of this is about, in particular in corporate America, is like, look at how diverse we are, but they're doing like horrible things behind the scenes, that he cites examples of this. So here you go. Dennis Wright says, those discussions are scary. An elite group of white people forcing some utopian vision ends in dystopia. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, let me also bring up that the Academy gave, in that inclusion rules, they gave a list of 20, if not 30 organizations you can hire to ensure that your production meets the standards. So we've created an industry out of diversity, which tells you this: if you ever solve diversity and racism in America, those businesses will go away. And so those businesses have a vested interest in staying in business by keeping this narrative going. I can tell you, a friend of mine had to hire one of these people, one of these organizations, and it wasn't cheap. It was tens of thousands of dollars for a company that doesn't make that kind of money. And what they got in the end was nothing. It was absolutely nothing.
It's another grift for the industry, like the COVID compliance grift, like the intimacy coordinator grift. All of this is to make you look good to the world. This is why these budgets have ballooned, right? These budgets have just gone skyrocketed out of control in Hollywood, where a movie like The Marvels, which looks like it should have gone direct to Disney Plus, cost $300 million. And then a movie like Dune Part 2 cost what? 160? Half the cost of The Marvels? Ridiculous. More comments here. Get some great comments. Byron B says, Oscars do nothing equals Oscars so white. Oscars take action equals discriminating accusations. Davina Duckworth says, diversity hires equals imposter syndrome. Well, for example, Ava DuVernay has a company, and it's a resource. It's like a database and a resource that it's all non-white people who are listed for crew positions, where you can just go to that website, look up people who fit the bill, and crew up so that you can fit these requirements. It's kind of weird. And of course, I'm sure there's some sort of referral fee woven into that. Siphon says, it's sad that people will now believe ethnic minorities are just diversity hires. That's what the saddest part is. People will be looked upon like, are you really qualified to be here? Or are you just standing here to meet a quota? That is why all of this is wrong, in my opinion. Do you want more seats at the table? Absolutely. We want that, but it should all happen organically. Yeah. Right.
Well,
like
the other side to this is, even if you wanted to hire for diversity, what's being forced upon these people are not actual people of color who can do the job. They're kind of foot soldiers. They are the ones who will keep the flames of racism going in your company. Because I know a lot of people of color who are in these industries who are good at their jobs, and they can't get hired because they don't fall in line with the groupthink. And this is exactly what is happening at Disney as well. You know, the people of color who are animators, who are artists, they're being pushed to the side, shut up, and these new woke radicals are coming in and taking over.
Well, look what it's done to animation. I mean, look at Wish.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what happened.
Horrible. More comments here, and then David Desmalchin is joining us in 5 minutes here. Hamukwa, and then we're going to talk more Dune at the end of the show. So David will be on for about 30 minutes ish, 20 to 30, and then we're going to talk more Dune, and I have a couple more news stories. What do people think? For the chat, question for the chat: what do you think of us doing news stories on Wednesdays, talking topics? Just a thought, and if you thought some of these topics were fun. Hama Kwa says, this is what they're doing for all those gender studies majors. They can do nothing but grift.
Yeah. Well, it gets even worse. What if Washington or Sacramento solves racism? They'd all be out of jobs.
Right.
You know, there's no vested interest in them to bring equality to America, to let us all join hands in one nation. No, they've got to keep the grift going, because that's where they get their votes. And there's a lot of money behind it. These DEI organizations, how much tax dollars do you think they get?
El Chapa Chupa Hueso says, do news when news happens. I like that. And Lord Thoth, news stories are good. I mean, obviously we're selective, and it's news we think will interest you, or at least lead to interesting conversation and or clips that Glenn Brown can clip. Shout out to Glenn, our producer. Glenn, clip them, baby. Yes. Clip them with an awesome thumbnail. But no, this is, I sent that video of Warren to a bunch of people, the one about J.K. Rowling, saying, you have to see this. Some sober-minded view from academia. When does that happen? And then that video blew up, not because of me, because a lot of people shared it.
Sadly, he's a small minority.
Red French Moon, who's a member, says, true, but years after years, they also populate their ranks with people that actually think that fresh out of college. So they now have soldiers believing it. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yep.
Alan Horkin says he blew up and his life will never be the same again. He's trying to make the best of it. Hope he gets a chance to make films. Oh, really? I didn't know. Alan, if we can get Warren on the show, I want to ask him how this has affected his life. I wonder if it's affected his employment. I did see him on some other shows, but by the way, please subscribe to Warren's YouTube channel. We'll put a link in the description. Thank you, Miss P Coffee, for that. There is a longer version of the video we showed. We showed the clip from Twitter. There's a longer version of the video on YouTube, and he has other videos, essays as well. Davina Duckworth, when you don't hire for merit, you get incompetence. Well, Delta Airlines has something to say about that. So, yeah. I've got Paulie texting me during the stream. So I'm going to text him back. Please don't text me during streams.
Yeah, and why is he not modding?
I'm going to stop my thing for a minute. I'm just going to say, here we go. He sent me an update about the John Waters thing. It's not set in stone. The news story is a bit exaggerated. There's no start date or green light to begin production, but they're working toward making that happen. It's not that big of a deal. Most news stories that you read in the trades are BS anyways.
Yeah,
it's
they're
just
aspirational.
Not the Guardian story made it look like this movie was a go. It's not a go. And
sorry. I meant to do that one.
First of all, by the way, I love Paulie.
From Mexican Iron Man, Latino slant equals fired.